For 5 years, I paid my parents' bills, nearly $40,000 total. Then I found their will. Everything went to my older brother, the golden child. I wasn't even mentioned. So I stopped helping. My phone buzzed. I glanced at the screen. Mom's name. Nothing unusual there. She texted me a few times a week, usually about nothing important, a recipe she tried, a neighbor's gossip, a request to help her figure out something on her phone. But this text was different. No "Hey sweetie." No "How are you?" No small talk at all. Just 4 words. The mortgage is due. I stared at the screen for a long time. Not because I was confused about what she meant. I knew exactly what she meant. She wanted money. The same way she'd been wanting money for the past 5 years. The same way she'd been asking, expecting, assuming that I would cover whatever she and my dad couldn't. But this time was different. Because this time, I knew something they didn't know I knew. I knew about the will. I knew that everything, the house, the savings, the life insurance, everything, was going to my older brother, Mark. The golden child. The one who could do no wrong. The one who'd been bailed out of debt 3 times, who'd crashed 2 of their cars, who'd dropped out of college twice and never gone back. And me? I got nothing. Not a mention. Not a dollar. Not even a "we love you both equally" in the fine print. Just nothing. So when that text came in, the mortgage is due, no greeting, no please, no acknowledgement of everything I'd already done for them over the years, I made a decision. A decision I'd been building toward for a long time. I picked up my phone. I typed my reply. And I hit send. By the end of this video, you're going to hear what I said. You're going to hear about the 5 years of financial support I gave my parents while my brother contributed nothing. You're going to hear how I found out about the will, what it said, and the phone call that followed my text. And you're going to hear why, even after everything, I don't regret a single thing. Let me start at the beginning. My name is Alex, I'm 29 years old. My brother Mark is 32. We grew up in the same house, same town, same parents. But you'd never know it from the way we were treated. Mark was the golden child. I don't say that with jealousy, I say it as a fact. He was the firstborn, the boy who carried the family name, the one my parents poured all their hopes into. When he got a B in school, it was a celebration. When I got an A, it was expected. When he got in trouble, it was boys will be boys. When I made a mistake, it was a lecture about responsibility. I learned early that the rules were different for us. And I learned to live with it. Mark dropped out of college his first year. My parents paid for the semester, no questions asked. He tried again 2 years later at a different school. Dropped out again. They paid for that too. Then he decided college wasn't for him. They didn't argue. They just kept supporting him. Meanwhile, I worked 2 jobs to put myself through community college. Paid my own way. Got my degree. Got a good job. Built a life. Not because I was smarter or harder working, though I was, but because I had to. There was no safety net for me. There never had been. Mark, on the other hand, had a safety net made of gold. When he lost his job, my parents helped with rent. When his car broke down, they bought him a new one. When he got into credit card debt, they bailed him out. 3 times. 3 separate bailouts. Thousands of dollars. Gone. And me? I paid my own bills. I fixed my own car. I dug myself out of my own debt. I never asked them for a dime. Not once. About 5 years ago, things started to shift. My dad got sick, nothing life-threatening, but serious enough that he had to cut back on work. My mom was already working part-time. Their income dropped. Their expenses didn't. They started asking for help. Small things at first. Could you spot us for groceries this week? Could you help with the electric bill? The car needs a repair, and we're a little short. I helped. Of course I helped. They were my parents. They'd raised me. They'd sacrificed for me. The least I could do was help them when they were struggling. But here's the thing about helping: when you do it once, it becomes expected. When you do it twice, it becomes assumed. And when you do it for 5 years, it becomes an obligation. What started as a $50 grocery run turned into covering the electric bill, then the water bill, then the internet, then the car insurance. Soon I was sending them $500, $600, $700 a month. Sometimes more. Whatever they needed. Whatever they asked for. And Mark? Mark was living his life. He had a job, a decent one, actually, but he was always short or waiting for a paycheck or between things. He never helped. Not once. My parents never asked him to. I told myself it was fine. I told myself I was being a good son. I told myself that when things got better for them, they'd ease up on asking. Things never got better. And they never eased up. 6 months ago, I was at my parents' house helping my dad with something on his computer. I don't even remember what. He'd left a file open on the desktop. A PDF. The title caught my eye. Last Will and Testament, Thomas and Margaret Chen. I shouldn't have looked. I know that. It wasn't meant for my eyes. But once I saw the title, I couldn't unsee it. My fingers moved before my brain could stop them. I opened the file. The will was 5 pages long. I skimmed the legal language, looking for the parts that mattered. The house. The savings. The life insurance. The investments. All of it. Every single thing. Left to Mark. Not split equally. Not to our children. Just to Mark. My name appeared exactly once, in a line that said something like any other heirs are specifically excluded. I closed the file. I finished helping my dad. I went home. And I sat in my car in the parking lot of my apartment building for an hour, just staring at the steering wheel. They'd left me nothing. After everything. After 5 years of paying their bills. After covering their groceries, their utilities, their car repairs. After being the reliable one, the responsible one, the one who showed up. They'd left me nothing. And Mark, who'd never helped with anything, who'd taken and taken and taken, he got everything. I didn't confront them. Not then. I needed time to process. To think. To figure out what I was going to do. Before I tell you what I did next, I want to be really clear about what those 5 years of helping actually looked like. Because I think the details matter. Year 1. Groceries, $200 to $300 a month. Electric bill, $80 to $120 a month. Total, roughly $4,000. Year 2. Groceries, $300 a month. Electric bill, $100 a month. Water bill, $50 a month. Car repairs, $1,200, one time. Total, roughly $6,500. Year 3. Groceries, $350 a month. Electric bill, $120 a month. Water bill, $60 a month. Internet, $70 a month. Home repair, $2,000, furnace. Total, roughly $9,500. Year 4. Groceries, $400 a month. All utilities, $250 a month. Car insurance, $150 a month. Medical bills, $3,000, dad's surgery. Total, roughly $13,000. Year 5, up to the point I found out about the will. Monthly support, $700 to $800 a month. Plus occasional large expenses. Total so far, roughly $6,000. Add it all up. 5 years. Nearly $40,000. That's not a loan. That's not helping out. That's supporting. That's carrying. That's being the financial backbone of a household that wasn't even mine. And Mark? Mark's total contribution over those 5 years was $0. I'm not saying this to keep score. I'm saying it because context matters. I didn't stop helping because I was greedy. I didn't stop helping because I expected an inheritance. I stopped helping because I found out that after 5 years of giving nearly $40,000, I didn't even rate a mention in their will. The week after I found out about the will was strange. I went through the motions. I texted my parents back when they texted me. I answered their calls. But something had shifted inside me. A door had closed. When my mom asked me to cover the electric bill that week, I said yes. Not because I wanted to, but because I wasn't ready to have the conversation yet. I needed time. I needed to figure out what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. But I also started paying attention. Really paying attention. To the way they talked about Mark. To the way they never mentioned money when he was around. To the way they treated me like the bank and him like the son. I noticed things I'd been ignoring for years. The way my mom would sigh when I said I couldn't afford something, like I was being difficult. The way my dad would say, "Oh, we're really counting on you," like it was my job to keep them afloat. The way neither of them ever said thank you in a way that felt genuine. I wasn't angry. Not yet. I was something worse. I was disappointed. The kind of disappointment that comes when you realize the people you love don't see you the way you see them. When you realize you're not a son to them, you're a resource. I made the decision about 2 weeks after finding the will. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, running the numbers in my head. $40,000. 5 years. And for what? So Mark could inherit everything while I got nothing? I thought about what would happen if I kept helping. Another 5 years. Another $40,000. And at the end of it, still nothing. Still not even a mention in the will. Still the invisible son, the one who paid the bills but didn't matter. I thought about what would happen if I stopped. The mortgage. The utilities. The groceries. All the things I'd been covering. They'd have to figure it out themselves. Or Mark would have to step up. Or they'd have to make changes. And for the first time in 5 years, I realized that wasn't my problem. I'd spent so long feeling responsible for their financial well-being that I'd forgotten they were adults. Capable adults who'd managed their own money for decades before I started helping. They'd figure it out. Or they wouldn't. But either way, it wasn't on me anymore. I decided to stop. Not dramatically. Not with a big announcement. Just stop. The next time they asked for money, I'd say no. And I'd keep saying no until they asked me why. The first no came about a week later. My mom texted, "Hey, can you send $200 for the water bill? Hours is late and they're threatening to shut it off." I stared at the message. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. "Sorry, Mom. I can't this month." Her response came within seconds. "What do you mean you can't?" "Just can't. Tight month. You'll have to figure something else out." She didn't respond. But an hour later, my dad called. He didn't ask about the money directly. He just talked about how hard things were, how expensive everything had gotten, how he didn't know what they were going to do. I listened. I said, "That sounds tough." I didn't offer money. The call ended. I felt guilty. But I also felt something else. Something I hadn't felt in a long time. Relief. The next week, my mom asked again. This time it was the internet bill. I said no again. Then the car insurance. No. Then groceries. No. Each a no got easier. Each a no reminded me that I wasn't their parent. I wasn't their provider. I was their son. And sons don't owe their parents $40,000. After a few weeks of me saying no, the calls and texts became less frequent. The requests stopped. The silence grew. At first, I thought maybe they'd figured something out. Maybe Mark had stepped up. Maybe they'd made some changes. But the silence felt different. It felt like distance. Like I was being pushed out. I'd always been the one they called. The one they texted. The one who was there. And now that I wasn't giving them money, they didn't seem to have much to say to me. That hurt more than I expected. Not the money part, the relationship part. I'd spent 5 years thinking I was helping my parents because I loved them. But maybe they'd spent 5 years thinking I was helping them because that was my job. And when I stopped doing my job, I stopped being useful. I wasn't their son anymore. I was a service they'd cancelled. And then came the text. A month after I'd started saying no. No, hey sweetie. No, how are you? No, I know we haven't talked much. Just, the mortgage is due. I read those words over and over. The mortgage. Not the electric bill. Not the water bill. The mortgage. The biggest expense they had. The thing that kept a roof over their heads. And they were asking me to pay it. Not Mark. Not their golden child. Me. The one they'd left out of the will. The one they'd been ignoring for weeks. The one who'd already given them $40,000. I thought about all the years. All the sacrifices. All the times I'd said yes when I should have said no. All the times I'd put their needs ahead of my own. All the times I'd been the responsible one while Mark was being the loved one. And I thought about the will. The document that said everything I'd done meant nothing. That I didn't matter. That I wasn't family enough to be included. I picked up my phone. I typed my reply. And I hit send. Here's what I said. Ask Mark. The fallout was immediate. My phone blew up. Mom, what is that supposed to mean? Mom, your father and I need help. Mom, you can't just abandon us like this. Mom, we raised you. We sacrificed for you. You owe us. Dad called. I let it go to voicemail. He left a message. His voice was tight, angry. Alex, I don't know what's gotten into you, but you need to step up. Your mother is stressed enough as it is. We're not asking for a handout. We're asking for help. From our son. That's not too much to ask. I didn't call back. Mark texted me an hour later. Dude, what's going on? Mom's freaking out. Why aren't you helping? I stared at that message for a long time. Mark. The one who'd never helped. The one who'd been bailed out 3 times. The one who was inheriting everything. Asking me why I wasn't helping. I typed back, why aren't you? He didn't respond. A few days later, I drove to my parents' house. Not because I wanted to, but because I knew we needed to have the conversation in person. Texts and phone calls weren't going to cut it. My mom opened the door. She looked tired. Older than I remembered. When she saw me, her face went through a series of emotions, surprise, relief, then something harder. Anger, maybe. Or hurt. You came, she said. I came. We sat in the living room. The same living room where I'd grown up. The same couch where I'd sat for family dinners and holiday gatherings and late-night talks. It felt different now. Smaller. Colder. My dad came in from the kitchen. He didn't sit. He stood by the window, arms crossed, looking out at the street. We need to talk about the money, my mom said. We do, I agreed. Your father and I have been struggling. You know that. We've needed your help. And suddenly you've just stopped. No explanation. No warning. Nothing. I took a breath. I found the will. The room went silent. My dad stopped looking out the window. My mom's face went pale. "What?" she said. "The will. On Dad's computer. A few weeks ago. I saw it." My mom looked at my dad. My dad looked at the floor. "Alex, we can explain," and my mom started. "Can you?" "Because I'd really love to hear it. I'd love to hear why, after 5 years of giving you nearly $40,000, after being the one who showed up and helped and paid your bills while Mark did nothing, I'm not even mentioned in your will. I'd love to hear why everything goes to him. The house. The savings. Everything. And I get nothing." My dad spoke. His voice was quiet. "It's not what you think." "Then what is it? Explain it to me." He sighed. "Mark needs it more than you do. You've always been responsible. You've always been able to take care of yourself. Mark struggles. He's always struggled. We wanted to make sure he'd be okay when we're gone. So you're punishing me for being responsible? For being the one who didn't need bailing out? For being the one who actually built a life?" "It's not punishment," my mom said. "It's just, we thought you'd understand. You've always been the understanding one." I laughed. I couldn't help it. It was the kind of laugh that comes out when something is so absurd you don't know how else to respond. I've been the understanding one. That's exactly the problem. I've been so understanding for so long that you stopped seeing me as your son and started seeing me as your bank. And now that I've stopped giving you money, you don't know what to do with me." "That's not true," my mom said. But she couldn't look me in the eye. "Isn't it? When's the last time you called me just to talk? Not to ask for money. Just to talk." Silence. "When's the last time you asked about my life? My job? My friends? Anything that wasn't about what I could do for you?" More silence. "I love you. Both of you. But I can't keep doing this. I can't keep giving and getting nothing in return. Not even a mention in your will." My dad turned from the window. "So that's what this is about? Money? No. This is about respect. This is about being seen. This is about being treated like family, not like an ATM. The money is just the proof. The proof that you don't see me the way you see him." Let me take a minute to explain what was actually in that will, because I think it matters. The will left everything to Mark. But it wasn't just everything. It was specific. The house. A 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. Valued at about $350,000. The savings account. About $45,000. The life insurance policy. $100,000. My dad's retirement account. $120,000. The cars. Both of them. Furniture. Jewelry. Family heirlooms. Everything. And me? There was a line that said any other heirs are specifically excluded and shall receive no portion of this estate. Not our son Alex. Not any other children. Just any other heirs. Like I was a legal technicality. An afterthought. A problem to be solved with a single sentence. I've read that line 100 times. It still hurts. I did some research after all of this happened. Because I wanted to know if I was alone. If other families went through this kind of thing. Turns out, inheritance disputes are incredibly common. The numbers? According to a survey by Caring.com, about 1 in 3 Americans who have a will don't tell their children what's in it. Among families where inheritance is unequal, nearly 60% report ongoing conflict between siblings. About 25% of people who are left out of a will say it permanently damaged their relationship with their parents. Only 40% of parents who leave an unequal inheritance explain their reasoning to their children. Among those who do explain, the most common reason given is one child needs it more, the exact reason my parents gave. The emotional impact. Studies show that being excluded from a will or left a significantly smaller share than a sibling can cause feelings of rejection, anger, and sadness that last for years. It's not about the money, it's about what the money represents. Love. Value. Belonging. When parents leave everything to one child and nothing to another, the message is clear: you matter less. Your sacrifices don't count. Your presence in our lives is not as important as your siblings. That's what I was feeling. And the research says I'm not alone. After the confrontation in the living room, my parents made an offer. We can change the will, my mom said. If that's what this is about. We can make it equal. I looked at her. You change it? Just like that. If it means you'll start helping again. There it was. The condition. The unspoken bargain. We'll put you in the will if you keep paying our bills. That's not a gift, I said. That's a transaction. Alex, we're trying here. Are you? Because it sounds like you're trying to buy my help. Not because you love me equally. Because you need my money. My dad spoke up. What do you want from us? I thought about it. What did I want? An apology? An explanation that actually made sense? For them to see me the way I'd always wanted to be seen? I want you to treat me like your son. Not like a donor. I want you to call me because you want to talk to me, not because you need something. I want you to acknowledge what I've done for you, are not with money, but with words. With gratitude. With respect. We've always been grateful, my mom said. Have you? When's the last time you said thank you? Not for thanks for the money. Just, thank you. For being there. For being your son. She didn't answer. I'm not asking to be in the will. Not anymore. That's not what this is about. I'm asking you to see me. Really see me. And if you can't do that, then no amount of money is going to fix this. I left my parents' house that day not knowing if anything had changed. We'd talked. We'd yelled. We'd cried. But I wasn't sure we'd actually communicated. The next few weeks were quiet. No requests for money. No passive-aggressive texts. Just space. I used that space to think. About my relationship with my parents. About the years of giving. About the will. About what I wanted going forward. I realized something important. I didn't want my parents to change the will. Not because I didn't want the money, but because I didn't want them to change it for the wrong reasons. If they changed it because they felt guilty, because they were worried I'd stop helping, because they wanted to buy my continued support, that wasn't a real change. That was just another transaction. What I wanted was for them to want to treat me fairly. To see me as equal to Mark, not because I demanded it, but because they realized I deserved it. I don't know if that will ever happen. Some things are too baked in. Too many years of patterns and expectations and unspoken rules. The golden child stays golden. The responsible child stays responsible. And nothing ever changes. About a month after the confrontation, my mom called me. Not to ask for money. Just to talk. She asked about my job. My apartment. My friends. Small things. The kind of things parents ask when they're trying to reconnect. I answered her questions. I asked about her life. The garden she'd been working on. The book club she'd joined. The neighbor's dog that kept getting loose. It was awkward at first. Stilted. Neither of us knew how to have this kind of conversation anymore. We'd spent so long talking about bills and money and problems that we'd forgotten how to just talk. But by the end of the call, something had shifted. Not a lot. But enough. Before we hung up, my mom said something I wasn't expecting. We're going to change the will. Not because you asked. Because it's the right thing to do. I didn't say anything for a minute. I wasn't sure I believed her. But I wanted to. Okay, I said. We're not asking you to start helping again. That's not why we're doing this. We're doing this because we love you. Because we should have done it from the beginning. I wanted to believe that too. Thank you, I said. We hung up. I sat in my apartment, alone with my thoughts, wondering if this was the beginning of something new or just another chapter in the same old story. It's been 3 months since that phone call. The will hasn't been changed yet. These things take time, apparently, but my parents have started the process. They've met with a lawyer. They've talked about what they want. They've included me in the conversations. Mark knows. He wasn't happy about it. He called me, angry, asking why I was stealing his inheritance. I told him I wasn't stealing anything. I was asking to be treated like a son, not like a stranger. He didn't understand. Maybe he never will. My relationship with my parents is different now. Not perfect, I don't know if it will ever be perfect, but different. We talk more. Not just about money. About life. About each other. I haven't started helping with bills again. I told them I needed time. They said they understood. I don't know if they actually understand, but they said they did. And for now, that's enough. This whole experience taught me a lot. About family. About money. About the difference between helping and being used. Helping is a choice. When you help someone, it should be because you want to, not because you feel obligated. The moment help becomes an expectation, it stops being help. It becomes a job. And you don't owe anyone a job. Love isn't transactional. If you have to pay for someone's love, it's not love. It's a subscription. And subscriptions can be cancelled. You can't buy belonging. I spent 5 years trying to earn my parents' love through financial support. I thought if I gave enough, sacrificed enough, proved myself enough, they'd finally see me as equal to Mark. But that's not how love works. You can't earn what should be given freely. Boundaries aren't cruel. Saying no doesn't make you a bad person. It makes you a person with limits. And limits are healthy. Necessary. Even with family. Especially with family. Sometimes you have to walk away to be seen. I didn't cut my parents off to punish them. I stepped back to protect myself. And in stepping back, I finally got their attention. Not because they cared about my money, but because they realized I wasn't going to be there forever. Here's the hard truth I had to accept. My parents didn't leave me out of the will because they forgot about me. They left me out because they didn't think I mattered as much. Because Mark was the priority. Because I was the one who could take care of myself, so I didn't need taking care of. That hurts. It still hurts. It might always hurt. But I've stopped letting that hurt control me. I've stopped trying to prove my worth through my wallet. I've stopped measuring my value by how much I can give. I am more than my bank account. I am more than the bills I pay. I am more than the son who shows up when everyone else doesn't. And if my parents can't see that, that's their loss. Not mine. If you're watching this and you're in a similar situation, giving too much to family, feeling taken for granted, wondering if you'll ever be seen, here's what I'd tell you. Stop. Just stop. Not forever. Not necessarily. But stop long enough to ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing. Is it love? Or is it obligation? Is it generosity? Or is it desperation? Ask the hard questions. Why are you the one always giving? Why aren't others helping? What would happen if you stopped? The answers might be uncomfortable. But they'll also be revealing. Set boundaries. You can love your family and still say no. You can be a good son or daughter and still protect your own financial well-being. These things are not mutually exclusive. Know your worth. You are not your bank account. You are not the sum of what you give. You are a person with value that has nothing to do with money. Don't let anyone make you feel otherwise. Be prepared for the worst. When you stop giving, some people will stop loving. That's not a reflection on you, it's a reflection on them. Let them go. You'll be better off without them. So, what's the moral of this story? Family is complicated. Money makes it worse. Wills and inheritances bring out the best and worst in people. I don't regret helping my parents. Not the $40,000. Not the 5 years. I did it because I loved them. And love is never wasted. But I also don't regret stopping. I stopped because I finally realized that love shouldn't be a one-way street. That giving shouldn't mean disappearing. That being a good son doesn't mean being a doormat. My parents are changing the will. Or they say they are. I'll believe it when I see it. But honestly? The will doesn't matter anymore. What matters is that I finally stood up for myself. That I finally said I matter too. That I finally stopped letting their view of me define my view of myself. I am Alex. I am 29 years old. I am responsible, reliable, and generous. But I am not an ATM. I am not a safety net. I am not a backup plan. I am their son. And if that's not enough for them, that's their problem. Not mine. If you're still watching, thank you. Thank you for listening to my story. I know it was long. I know it was heavy. But I think stories like this need to be told, because so many of us are living them. We're the responsible ones. The reliable ones. The ones who show up and give and sacrifice while others take and take and take. And we tell ourselves it's fine. We tell ourselves we're being good people. We tell ourselves that one day, they'll see. One day, they'll appreciate us. One day, they'll treat us the way we deserve. But that day doesn't come unless we make it come. Unless we stop waiting to be seen and start demanding to be seen. Unless we stop giving and start setting boundaries. You matter. You matter as much as anyone else in your family. Your needs matter. Your life matters. Your future matters. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. If you like this story and want to hear more real-life family drama stories, click the video on screen right now. Thanks for listening. Take care of yourselves. And remember, you don't have to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm.